had a record deal. But had a great voice, and I worked with her for the last 7 years on it. We're parting ways this time, but I had it with Vandor Music Group is doing the distribution and publishing, and a great manager who I've waited to work with for a long time. And he was 20 years at Music Row, and his company has just exploded. And right now, he's doing deals that are incredible, but in another couple months, it's going to be Nashville prices.
Uh-oh.
It is concert promotion and travel agency and international radio play. Really pushes the single, radio pusher, single pusher. And he's just so damn good at what he does.
Right.
And I'm really glad to be signing with him. And we've got that all sorted out. So anyway, I had this deal with him and everyone else on board. And we were to release my new single, and I wrote and arranged and produced my wife's new single to release those in March and take off then. Then this COVID thing hit. All concerts were canceled.
Yeah.
Everything went in the toilet. And there went a year of touring.
Right.
So I know a lot of artists have been really hurt by this whole situation.
Yeah, they have.
So now we're looking at he's securing venues and stuff for concerts for starting in the summer.
Okay.
And right now, I don't mean to push it, I'll let everyone come to their own conclusions about the stuff, but I'm so excited to be signed with him that right now, the deals he's doing, particularly if you mentioned Ken Morris, you mentioned my name.
Right, Ken,
and
yeah.
a couple artists I've got incredible deals for just because they said my name.
Cool.
So, so we're accepting artists right now down there. He is. But in a couple more months, the deal is going to be a lot harder to get. So I'll just tell you his name, Mike Zandanowitz. This guy's incredible. It's Galaxy Class Entertainment. He's got an office in Nashville and an office in Florida now. He's working a lot out of Orlando.
Okay.
And I lived in Tennessee a long time. I sure miss it. I'm up here in Ohio right now, and all this nonsense. But I said to Michael, why aren't you still on Music Row in Nashville? He goes, man, he said, I'm back and forth. But if you're going to plant it somewhere, would you plant it in Florida? And I said, well, yeah, there's where our studio is. And Dave Michael at the studio there is just an incredible work with so many stars, so many labels, and nothing but hit after hit. I've worked with this guy for 30 years now.
Cool.
Studio USA in Orlando.
Okay. Well, as we was talking earlier, we've had some difficulties getting on there this afternoon, but I took care of it right fast. Then yesterday, I didn't realize I had appointments at the doctor's office. And like you said, with the Cobra and stuff, it's been slow, and we've been planning this almost 10 years to get together for me and you. So
could you put a little more treble in your voice to me?
Okay.
You're a little nutty.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Oh, excellent. There you go.
Okay.
Just, you always got to tweak out a sound check or the show doesn't come off right.
Right. I understand. I thought I had it all sound checked earlier and come in here and my computer crashed and it didn't crash. It restarted and then I had
I'll tell you, when I've got a sound man going on for a gig, I always, and they're getting paid same as everyone else.
Right.
I always see him before sound check, shake his hand and have a nice folded up gift for him. Nice crisp bill. Just a little tip on the side to say, I really appreciate what you do, because a good sound man can make you or break you.
I see it. I do this myself. I set everything up, had it all going, about 30 minutes, tested it, made sure it worked, and I come back in here and I said, no, not now.
Hey, listen, I checked out your operation. Man, have you grown in 10 years. It is incredible what you're doing. It's like so high tech. My youngest son used to tease me a couple years ago when I saw him last. And I did this new album with him. It was his first ever. And he said, Dad, you're just one step ahead of the pager.
Well, I try to get ahead of the game, and I do a lot of research when I'm just sitting around. I get something in my head I want to do, and I go out and research it and see if I can do it. It's like for long, I'm going to have this site, what I'm doing now, live stuff, put on my website, and I'm helping another radio station out because he's doing the same thing. So he could put his live on his site. So, I mean, I work with I'm friends with other radio stations. I treat them just as fair, and everything. Because we all out here for y'all. We ain't out here for ourselves. I'm here for the artist. I try to be, Nightwave Radio's website I built myself.
Well, I'll tell you what, the one thing I'm sure of after all these years of living and doing is the only life worth living is a life of service to others.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Artists get real ambitious about how talented they are and how much they want their big break, and they want fame and fortune and everything that goes with it. I thank you all. But if they'd only learn early on about being humble and really always looking out for the other guy. Doesn't mean you be stupid and take one on the head. Pay attention. But always make sure that professionally and personally on a human level, you actually care and take an interest in the other guy, in the DJ playing your stuff, in the label people, even in the pressing plant doing your stuff, pressing up your stuff. So that's why I'm glad to be with Galaxy Class Entertainment, man, because Michael has spent so many years in Nashville, and he does the same thing, but for independent artists, so they don't have to be owned and bought by anyone else. Because as you know, in this business, you sign the major label thing, and they give you $100,000, but they don't give it to you. It's at 25% interest. Then you have to pay the producer. You pay the studio. You pay the PR company. You pay everyone. And then that money's spent, and they get a kickback on everything you spent. So they're already halfway out of the hole. Then after you sold, like Donna Summers, she was a good friend of mine in Los Angeles in the 70s. She comes out for playing from Germany, big hit, right?
Right.
Comes out and they said, well, Donna, you did really good. You sold, 5 million albums. You only owe us $250,000. Maybe you can make it up on the next record. And as hard as she worked, I was with her at the Cherokee Studios all the time. And I was associated with them in the record plant. The record plant was great. Did you know that the song Hotel California was actually written about the record plant studios in Los Angeles when it was on 3rd Street?
I'll be darned.
The pink champagne and ice, the mirrors on the ceiling, they had 3 bedrooms in the back. One was a jock room, a college thing. One was like a S&M leather room. And the other room was we called the sissy room. It had pink everything, mirrors on the ceiling, pink champagne and ice. And they wrote it, the Eagles wrote it because they went there to record, and they wrote Hotel California about their experience recording at the record plant. The lady who has Pretty Pretty Boy, that she calls friends, was Sharon Presser, the daughter of Jackie Presser, the Teamsters guy in the 20th century. And Sharon was a doll. She was just great. It'd be like, I'd be shooting pool with Julian Lennon, and Leif Garrett would come through in his skateboard. David Bowie would be drawing pictures in the lobby, doing his sketches. And it was just like a relaxed home where everyone had. I remember Eddie Money calling up, complaining at like 2 in the morning at the house there in Laurel Canyon, complaining that Rod Stewart's been in the jacuzzi too long. It's my turn. And I turned to Sharon and said, are they recording an album or are they just doing a party? She says, well, you got to keep them happy. But
yeah.
That was back in the hedonistic days where everyone was kind of
laid back.
They got a lot of promotion out of being crazy.
Right. I mean, used to, I wanted to go out to Nashville, meet a bunch of artists back there. And it got to the point now, I don't know if I want to go to Nashville or not. Rick Smith said hi.
Who did?
Yeah, he's on here and he said hi.
Hi, Rick. I want to do shout out to some of my friends there, Ruthie and Melissa and Lily and Kristen. So many friends. I better start saying some guy names, shouldn't I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Some Paul. Dave Michael, of course, and Mike Zindano was my manager. So many people tuned in and being so supportive of everything I'm doing. And it's just great. I mean, it warms my heart that they actually take an interest. I finally did a new album. The Love You Give Makes You What You Are. The video is under my legal name. My actual name is Spirit Wolf.
Okay.
But that was so weird. It scared people. And they thought I was like hippie Indians for parents.
There you go.
That I took on the name Ken Morris because it was kind of generic and it kind of worked. And that was when I had more of the image thing and doing a wide variety of music. Now I really just, I'm just myself. It's about just sing the song. Write a good song that really touches people's hearts and just sing it, man. No image, I'm going to wear a hat for this, cowboy hat for this, or I'm going to wear, just sing the damn song. Now the song is, you can find the video on YouTube. Spirit Wolf, The Love You Give Makes You What You Are on YouTube. The Love You Give Makes You What You Are. Just do Spirit Wolf, The Love You Give Makes You What You Are.
I'll check that out.
I thought you did check it.
I got it here somewhere. I've checked out several different ones. I just don't remember if I checked it out first or was it the last. I checked one of them out. I forgot which one you sent me. I was checking out all of them, but
yeah, it's been passed around all over the globe.
Yeah.
And I'm just giving it away free. I don't make any money on it. It's got a purpose. It's got a purpose. It talks about unconditional love.
Right. I got the song and I'm playing it, but what I'm saying is I hadn't heard it here in the last week or two.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of where I'm going with the music, man. I'm going with, different stories, different textures and ideas of, what I'm getting across, but without more Americana, not all the drums and bass and horn sections and production like I used to use. Just a real direct sit down with a guitar, have a few guys got mandolin, upright bass, acoustic lead, I'm on acoustic, keeping it real simple. Use a little harmonica here, a little piano on this one, and but keep it really clean and simple so the message gets across the story. They're all story songs and all written from my real life experiences that kind of on the same theme. Because right now, rather than writing about this girl or that, or, this divorce and that, or all the typical stuff people write about, lost my truck, lost my dog, lost my wife.
Right.
Backwards, you get them all back. These are songs that actually touch from rock and rollers across gospel, country, across the board, because it's the human factor. I look to touch the human factor. So it's not really so categorized in some genre that you say, oh, well, he's this or he's that. It's the song and how it touches the heart, the human factor. And that's really what I'm concentrating on now. So this new album was directed in that direction. And I had 14 really good recordings that I did with the video. And one of them was being released as a single, really good, strong song. It is called Who Said Real Men Don't Cry.
Okay.
And each verse, 3 verses, the first 2, all 3 describe real life things. Like the first one about a fellow that answers the door, and it wasn't his son that went away to war. He was killed the week before, and the father took the letter in his trembling hand. He said, I wish my wife was here. And then he broke into tears. And the next one was a guy who was just diagnosed with cancer, had 6 months to live. Dear Lord, how can I leave my family and my friends? Tell me what to do. And the third one, it escalates from D to E, and it's about a fellow watching his daughter walk down the wedding aisle. And the preacher saw his pride swell up, and the preacher gave a smile, not only in his daughter, but the groom at his side, because the father knew this young man saw his daughter through his own loving eyes. I'm talking about real human experience. If we could get away with trying to write stuff to be famous or from some agenda of self-glorification and actually wrote material that is serving our fellow human beings, music could once again change the world.
Well, that's what I've always thought about music, because you get some of the people that wrote songs back in the day, they wrote it that way about their self, about their life. And a lot of it wasn't about, like you said, the voices, their dog or something. It was more like you writing, back to that type of music, And so, I mean, if you get people writing songs like that again, I think country music, because you said a few magic words that I love, about playing, sitting there without all the band behind you and all that, just a few people. And the thing of what I mean is, I think of the front porch, sitting out there barbecuing and everybody gathering around playing music. It's a whole lot better sometimes.
Oh yeah, and I mean, look at Johnny Cash's last album. I mean, it said so much, but when he went out to tour with it, it was just him and a guitar.
Yeah.
He kept it. Rick Rubin is brilliant. A brilliant producer, brilliant man in the record business. I had the pleasure of meeting him years ago when I lived in London, and that was the approach. Like Christofferson once said, when asked, "What's a good country song?" he said, 3 chords and the truth. I think he was talking about Johnny at the time. It was 3 chords and the truth.
Yeah. Johnny Cash was the greatest in my book. I mean, I used to, when I was a kid, he'd be on Wednesday night, and I begged my dad to let me sit up on a school night to watch him.
Oh, yeah, I remember. We're both old.
Yeah, we're getting there, but I still feel young.
Oh, yeah. I'm just losing a year every year, getting younger.
There you go. That's what I keep.
We all come into this world bald, with no teeth, and in diapers. And if we live long enough, that's how we go out.
Yeah. I agree.
So anyway, that's the direction of what I'm doing now, and we're very excited about it. We just had to be put off a little bit. And what's more important, what the world's going through and this country is going through right now. And I've sent you a lot of stuff,
right?
Stuff to make you aware of stuff. But what we're going through right now as a country, this is not a time to buy guns and shoot each other.
No, it's not.
To band together.
Well,
band together as praying human beings and fight this fight on your knees with prayer and being aware. Nothing wrong with protecting your family and your land and your home. That's an American right. But our rights are being taken away from us.
Well, somebody told me once that, and I've stuck with it. My father's told me the same thing as I was growing up. We should love and do unto others what we want done to us. I mean,
it's pretty simple, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if your neighbor's out there, don't make no difference what race he is. If he's having problems, go over and see if you can help him or her.
Exactly. I've been colorblind my whole life.
And so, I have too. And I love the music. I mean, because if people realize where the music originally come from, how it started, and then where it's at today, I mean, in the 80s and stuff, country music with Johnny Cash and all these guys.
Well, you are young because Johnny died in the 80s. He couldn't throw a pebble across the lake.
Well,
there was all this MTV stuff with the kids.
Well, what I'm saying,
when you go
70s,
back to the beginning, you're looking at Rudy Valley in the 20s.
Right.
And I met guys at EMI when I recorded at the Beatles studio there in St. John's Wood. Abbey Road, when they're walking across the road there, I walked across that road every day recording there. And I got to play with the studio guys that actually played on the Beatles' first 3 albums.
I remember them.
It was all studio guys, and I got to play with those guys and record in the original. It was Beat Studio then, in the late '80s mid '80s when I recorded there. But it was Studio B by that time. But it was the exact same studio that they recorded in, and it was just such an adventure, man. It was such a pleasure to actually be in that same vibe, using that same gear, and it hadn't changed much since 1970. It was pretty much the same stuff. So it was real exciting. Exciting time.
You look the way Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, Dolly Parton, Hee Haw, and all them guys. I come up in them days when they were still on TV, and live and stuff and gospel music. You don't hear much of that today.
Well, you know how many copies Dolly's Coat of Many Colors sold to be a hit in country?
I forgot. I heard
60,000 copies.
Dang.
Now, let me tell what you do. You want a gold record at 100,000 copies sold?
Right.
You sell 50,000 copies to the public, then you sell 50,000 copies to the karaoke companies.
Oh, okay.
That constitutes 100,000 sales, which constitutes a gold record, even though you only sold 50,000 to the public. See, these are all the ins and outs of the record business that artists just don't know. They know how to look great on film. They know how to get their song across. I mean, that's where they put their efforts. But being a producer for Vandar Music Group for years and working with major labels, you really have to learn. If an artist could only learn the inside workings of the business, how it actually works, you know,
right?
They would approach it totally different. Like Garth Brooks did business. Got a degree in business while he was going through college and substituted his added money to his bank account by playing on the weekends and stuff.
Right.
Well, when he went to go for it, he hired a producer from Columbia Records, okay, for $50,000, and that got him the licensing because it was one of their producers that took on the project. Now, when you do a project like that back in that day, he paid for his own videos. He paid for everything up front himself. He learned the business first. That's why he was such a success from the get-go. You have to put the money in any business. I don't care if it's a general store, you're a blacksmith, you're a dentist, you're a lawyer, you're a doctor. Doesn't matter what you do in business. You have to invest in yourself first before anyone else is going to invest in you.
That's true.
And you got to market test your product and prove it works before you can get. It takes to go big. First year takes $5 to $7 mil, and it takes that much each year for the next 6 years to get to superstardom. Now you're not going to get investors like that unless the product is licensed and protected. See, when I worked with a major, I had to guarantee on contract there was only 2 copies of that production in existence, and they got both of them. Then they put their encodement on it. And then it was a protected product. Then they brought in the investors to go bigger with it. But you had to put up the first stuff, the first single, produce it yourself, pay the producer to do it, et cetera, et cetera. That's how I used to get paid.
Right.
Now, I just found out, because I'm catching up after being off for 7 years, Michael at Galaxy Class Entertainment, he has all the encodements. You're getting that when you get out. You don't have to pay what is it? See, majors are asking artists to pay $6,000 a song. And that's not per single. That's for every song on the album.
Right.
If it's 10 songs, $60,000 just to protect and license each one with encodement before they'll deal with it. That's just the encodement part, not the cost of the production, the musicians, the engineers. That's just the cost of licensing. It doesn't have to be that way anymore. It's so far advanced to be independent. You can get Nashville high-end treatment for it. Actually, you can get it for what it costs a band, what a band would make on the weekend on a gig.
Well, I noticed here lately a lot of artists, you know, like I can't even talk. Toby Keith did. They've got their own studios, their own recording places now. A lot of the independents are starting to go that way too.
Well, I'll tell you, years ago when Cher put out that album, Tom Dowd, who was a great friend of mine, God rest his soul, he was one of the founders of Atlantic Records. Him and Ahmet Urget and Jesse Stone. I knew Jesse and his wife real well. They lived in Orlando. I used to sing at the Christmas parties with them.
Right.
And Jesse did the writing. And Tom called me, and he said, "You wouldn't believe, man. I'm driving down the road. I listened to Cher's new single. He said, I had to pull over. I couldn't believe it." I said, "What's that?" He said, "I recognized everything. That thing was done on a laptop computer. No studio, no musicians, just a computer and a vocal." So if you want that real warm live sound, you go in the studio with really good players. And down at Studio USA at Dave Michaels' place, they got the best in the world. I mean, major name quality guys.
Right.
That don't cost an arm and a leg. So you get a great production for a great cost. Then Michael takes it from there, does the licensing, pushes the single. Everyone agrees on the single, pushes the single, gets you out there with international airplay, and starts charting it. And that starts drawing your attention, because really the bread and butter is not your video making, licensing or, licensing for radio play and stuff. That's nickel and dime stuff. Your bread and butter as a recording artist is concerts, is live performance. Really, all a song is, for the most part, a song is just a business card to get people to come to your concerts.
Right.
So you want to have the business card be nice and shiny and right on spot, right for the market, exactly the market you're hitting. And even, cross-marketing costs a little bit more because you're cross-marketing now. You're not just doing one market. But given that, you can do, with the right people, and that's why I'm with the team in Orlando, with the right people, you can do major label level stuff on something that any working man and any working band can work through and afford to keep going. Plus, you get the concert bookings, and you get the concert promotion, and you get the PR, and you get everything where you don't have to sign your life away. And you really are selling your soul when you go the other route. You think it's all fame and glory and money, but boy, once you're about 3 years, 5 years into it, you're going, you remember the Gin Blossoms on A&M?
Okay.
I got Herb Albert's label. I got them signed in the 80s. I helped them get signed to A&M. And I was going to have him use my attorney, Nat Weiss, who was Apple Records attorney for the Beatles. And John Lennon chose him. Nat represented Cat Stevens and James Taylor, Carly Simon, the American Mission Orchestra, Billy Preston, who I worked with. Everyone who was great at the time in the 70s. And back then, the Chambers Brothers, Lester's actually on that Heavenly Bound No Earthly Good album I did under Ken Morris. He's on that cut, Driving Me Crazy, playing harmonica.
Okay.
He really made the cut. These are all Rock and Roll Hall of Fame guys, man. And they paid the Chambers Brothers. He wrote them a check right at the gig for $300,000. But by the time they paid everybody, that $300,000 was gone.
Yeah.
And they made their bread and butter doing concerts. So I just want to get out to artists up and coming. You got a lot of great up and coming artists. I've checked out your roster. So much talent. The girls are beautiful. The guys they got great voices. The quality of artists we have today is so advanced to what they used to call talent before.
Yep.
If they only learn how to not crash and burn their first 7 years and to produce their own masters, own them, and then lease them out to the label. There's a whole thing to do, but I'll tell you, just call Michael Zandano or tell him Ken Morris or Spirit Wolf, either one now. Tell him the thing Ken Morris told me to call.
Okay. I'll let him know. Well,
and he will educate you. He'll take the time. Don't waste his time, but he'll take the time. He's real square, honest as the day is long, and the only guy I trust really in the record business as I know it today. And he'll actually educate you how it works, so you're not living in dreamland. So you're not saying, well, I thought, well, that's not how it works, but let me explain it to you. Because we know a well-educated artist is the easiest to work with because they're not delusional. They're not caught up, well, I heard, well, I read. Everything you read, someone paid that to be in the publication.
Right.
Okay? You want something on TV. Every minute on primetime TV costs $85,000 to broadcast. You think anyone's going to pay $85,000 a minute unless they're selling something, a point of view, a product of some sort?
Heck no.
No. So you're not going to get the truth. What you're going to get is their version of what they want you to believe. So that's why you don't buy into your own PR. You don't buy in when people are patting you in the back and telling you how great you are. Because those same people won't even know you when the deal's done and the concert's end.
Well,
like George Burns said, be nice to all the people you meet on the way up, because you're going to see the same people on the way down.
Listen to a lot of coming up. I'll go ahead and say it. I'll be 60 years old next month. But coming up, from the 60s and 70s and 80s, it was one group that I used to listen to that just, they was, Garth Brooks outdone them, but they was a good band. Was Alabama, they started.
Oh, yeah. Turns out my mom was good friends with them. I got to meet them because my mom was good friends with them.
I went.
Their manager.
Yeah, I went to a concert of theirs, and I tried to get a friend of my dad's. He had a cousin that drove their bus, and I was trying to get him to let me meet him and everything. I never got to. I mean, but I did get to go see him in Charlotte, North Carolina, when I was living out there, and I tell you what. And then, you know, you had all these other ones, like you said, Garth Brooks, and some of them come along and outdone them. But still, music to me is the old school type, like you were saying earlier, playing just a few, you know.
From the heart.
Yeah, from the heart and everything. I mean,
and
I got to.
Saying something that's worthwhile to the human heart. Well, my point was with the Gin Blossoms. So I tried to get them to use my lure. They said, no, we've got it from here. You know, they had, 5 hits going at once. And the guitar player who did a lot of the writing of those songs was so broke, he was having to hang drywall for $200 a week. He ended up blowing his brains out. He couldn't understand how he had all these hits on the radio and no money. And he's hanging drywall in Phoenix.
Right.
And at one point, I guess it just all got to him, and he committed suicide.
Dang.
So when I'm telling these things to folks out there, these artists that are listening, please don't be delusional. Really learn how the business works. Now, the fellows I've recommended, the circle of fellows I've worked with for over 30 years now, I really recommend them because they have never done me wrong. They've always done me right. And every artist I've ever sent to them, even 2 recently I sent, man, because they used my name, they got a deal that I just went, how are you going to do that, Michael? And it's like, look, I work well for them. I get to pay the bills here. And I do a great job. They keep working with me. And it builds longevity. It builds a relationship where it's not just one project or 6 months of promotion or something. It builds a lifelong relationship. He makes his buck on lifelong relationships by doing the artist right. See, they've learned once again, my friends, no. A life of service to others is the only life worth living. Whether it's through your music, whether it's doing business, whether it's whatever it is. And once you got that down and you appeal to the human heart, not the ego, not the sex, not to all these superficial things, you appeal to the heart, the human heart. You've got longevity because that never grows old. You might get older, but that music will never age.
No, it won't.
And then you've got a lifelong career. It's not, I'm famous for a year and then they forget who I am. I'm flavor of the week. You know, we used to call the little blondes that would get signed every 6 months in Nashville Twinkie of the week. Okay, all blonde and full of green. Now what are we going to do for their first 6 months? 6 months later, you got a whole brand new Twinkie. And their careers is like, what they go on? Drug addiction, alcohol, and they're in rehab.
Well, yeah.
Sad. I mean, I laugh because it's ridiculous, but it's sad. So I wanted to take this interview to make sure, like I'm doing with my music, I wanted to get out there to the other artists to choose your associates very wisely and have your pure intent of what you're doing and why you're doing it. That makes all the difference in the world. Of whether it's not down to just your voice or how you play guitar or the song you wrote that everyone loves at home. It's your pure intent and the relationship you built in the business with people where 30 years later, they're still your friend, they're still working with you, and you're glad to be with them. If you can do that as an artist, you've got a lifelong career, man.
Well, you know, I've been hanging out doing this, you know, like you said, I've been doing a lot of it over the years, and I've worked hard at it. I pick and choose who works with me. The artists that a lot of them that I've sat back and researched on Facebook, researched them on American Idol and stuff like that, you know, that hadn't won, but they still need to get a chance to get their music heard. They're great artists. And then I've had other means of getting artists, from promoters and stuff that's wanting to support the indie artists. And, I've got a great team, Ken. I mean,
Look what you've built in 10 years, man. I mean, you're so just kind of indie. It's like, I remember 10 years ago you wanted the interview, and my life was so hectic we never got to it.
No.
And I thought, oh God, he's wanting an interview 10 years later just to do the same thing to me. But it didn't work out that way, and we've got a good relationship because we both care.
Well, I care.
So, now we are 10 years later, and I got 4 years on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting younger every day.
But, yeah, that's true. That's true.
I got the experience, which is what's really valuable. Because young people say, "Well, you're so smart." You realize that how much I had to screw up to learn each thing.
There you go.
You learn from your mistakes, man. I made so many. I learned some.
I learned from mistakes. Little mistakes that you make, not all the time, but you make them. And I mean, it's like from what I've built, from computer to ACs to electrical to whatever I know that I've got knowledge of and building and stuff, I've learned from all my mistakes. You still gonna have technical difficulties, programming. I make mistakes sometimes, but
that's just life. That's just living life. Oh, I got another shout out to a great friend of mine, Malia Thompson. Hey, Malia. Hope you're listening, and glad you are. Great lady. She's really done so much for me on this end. A really great person.
Right.
So,
I don't know if you know any Scott Sharp there in Tennessee, and his wife Trisha Sharp. She DJs. Another guy helps me DJ is Clint Turner from Tennessee. But I've got a lady in Texas. I started out with her, Paula Burns. I don't know if you know Jill and TJ there in Tennessee. Nicole, she's a sweet lady. All these people I just mentioned, over the years, I've got to work with them, and the two DJs, they are awesome, and the artist, and that, me and you talked before a long time ago, but like I said, we didn't get together, but now we are, and I appreciate all the info that you let me know. I mean, it's a learning experience.
Well, I think, because we've been in it so long. And no, I don't know a lot of the Nashville crowd. Remember, I came in the business. Elton John's manager tried to put some moves on me back at his 30th birthday party. I had gone from Muscle Beach. I was in that movie years ago as a teenager, Pumping Iron.
Right.
And we had gone to New York to the Whitney Museum to do an exhibition to raise more money to finish the film. And I was invited by a producer to say, would you like to, because we were the new thing on Broadway, bodybuilders. No one knew what we were. And so he asked, come to Elton's 30th birthday party, Studio 54. I said, sure, why not? Go ahead. Well, when I made him, and when he tried to say, do you know what I could do for you in the music business? I said, look, man, I'm a national bodybuilder and a martial arts instructor. I don't care about the music business. So here's my card when you have the decency to apologize. The night that Leonard Skinner's plane crashed, he called me and said, at my apartment in Hell's Kitchen in New York, would you like to go see Rod Stewart? And I said, who's Rod Stewart? He goes, ever hear of a song, Maggie May? Well, I heard in high school. I said, oh, yeah, the guy that sings with laryngitis. And his British accent went, well, yes, of course, yes. I said, sure, why not? He said, I just want to apologize. So the limo, from Elton's limo, picked me up. The driver was named Caesar, and took me to the Sherry Netherlands, where John Reed was on the phone trying to find out, who survived the crash. And I'm sitting in a star-studded room. They got these white lines and all these fancy silver trays. Champagne is flowing. And I'm sitting next to Carol Bass, Burt Bacharach's wife, and all these amazing people. I'm like, what was I, 21 years old? I can't believe I'm here, man. So anyway, we go to the concert, and afterwards we go to Rod's hotel, which is the Pierre Hotel. The Pierre, he always kept a floor in the Pierre year round, and Elton kept one at the Sherry Netherlands. So big dinner. Rod's even got 3 of his aunties from Scotland there, and a big crowd, all the big A&R guys and stuff. And John Reid had the decency to stand up and toast me and say, I really want to apologize to this young man. And he got my respect. Well, I was sitting right across from Britt Eklund and Rod Stewart. I was sitting like 2 feet away having dinner. And Carol was sitting next to me. Well, I just won the NABBA Mr. Eastern USA.
Right.
The Nationals. That's back before steroids and all that stuff. You didn't need that stuff to win back then. And the producer that brought me said, show your pictures of the contest to Rod. I said, what would some rock and roller want to see those for? He's a major athlete. I said, what does he do? He was going to be a soccer champion. He had to decide between soccer or music, and he chose music. Good call. I thought, well, okay. So I got this, this kind of stack of pictures, and I pulled them out of my coat, and I showed them to him, and he took an interest. Well, we go up to his room afterwards with Bob Fight, A&R for Arista Records, for Clive Davis. We go up to his room, and there's all these guitars sitting around. All the guys are in his room, and all the girls in Britt's room. And just an innocent kid, because I wrote music since I was 10 years old. I mean, I wrote just for the love of writing songs.
Right.
I never thought I'd do anything with it. So I asked Rod, can I play one of those guitars? And I'm sitting in my little John Travolta 3-piece suit. And he says, sure, go ahead. So I pick one up, I'm sitting in the corner, and I'm just singing my songs away to myself, like, oh, this is so much fun tonight. A real naive kid. And he came over and sat down. He said, who wrote that? I said, I did. He goes, you got any more? I said, sure. So I played about half a dozen. He said, you've got potential. And the advice he gave me was play with all your heart, sing with all your heart, try to stay in key, and recruit the best musicians you can get, certainly better than you. And you will eventually get to where you're going. Do you know that was 1976, I was 20. By 79, I was headlining in Vegas at the rock clubs with my first record deal with Scotty Brother Records, and had my first major hit. And from that point on, I was in the record business. So I got my break meeting him, then meeting the right people through him, that got me the right management, that by 79, I had my first record deal.
Right.
And so I fell into, musicians will work 20 years out there in the bars trying to get one. I fell into one by the time I was 21. No, 23. I was 22, 23 when I got signed.
Right.
So, yeah, I just did a Billy Preston concert. It was a charity concert in Topanga Canyon for the mudslide victims. And I closed the show and got 3 ovations. And then some management showed up at my door. I had a little apartment across from Paramount Studios. And management showed up at my door, Italian management, businessman, with a briefcase. And they said, and it's just like up The Sopranos, man. I look back and I have to laugh. And they said, can we enter this abode? I said, sure, come on in. We're having a party. We're listening to the tape of the concert. And they said, do you have management? And I said, no, I do it all myself. So, well, we're interested in managing you. I said, well, okay. And I said, well, how much is it going to cost to do a 3-song demo? And I added up Sire Rehearsal Studio and Top Cat Studios in LA, did what it would cost for 5 hours a day, 5 days a week for 1 month to put the show together. Then we went into a 16-track, needed another $10,000 to do those 3 songs. If it was even that, it might have been 5 back then.
Right.
So I said $25,000. And that paid every musician $100 a rehearsal while we did it all.
Right.
Now, they booked night times on Hollywood. They booked nighttime hours block time because it was cheaper. Do you know, we went in at midnight, came out at 10 o'clock, came out at 6 in the morning. By noon the next day, I had a record deal with Scotty Brother Records.
Dang.
And it wasn't because I was so smart. I could hardly play back then. I just knew enough to play to write a good song.
There you go.
What I thought was a good song. So I had to kind of get good on the run. Voice lessons and a lot of lessons to learn how to, use my talent, potential talent. So I had to do a lot of studying from the get-go because I actually had to grow to keep up with the opportunities I had. Now that's blessed. I mean, that's blessed. I see people work so hard, crash and burn. Remember, in Nashville, you got all those people that play in the windows,
Right.
hoping someone's going to see them and sign them.
Right.
They don't get signed from that. They're used, abused, and diffused.
Well, see, that's the sad part about it, from what I've heard. I don't know if you know this gentleman, Bobby Johnson.
That sounds familiar.
He's a great artist. He's a great songwriter. He used to write with some of I think he said Johnny Cash and some of them back in the day. Now he's retired and in Florida. He's a great guy. But he told me a while back, we was talking about how the music industry is. And he said, well, nowadays you go out there, you sing at some of these bars and these clubs and stuff out there in Nashville, and they don't pay you. You just go in there and you put a bucket up there, and hopefully you got a good crowd that'll tip you. That's where you're going to make your money for the night.
Oh, yeah. Well, because any band will do it because they're hoping to get discovered. All the bars are good for. The only thing they're good for an up-and-coming artist is to learn their craft, to learn how to work a crowd, to learn timing, not have dead time between songs, learn proper banter as they're having to have a guitar retuned or a string replaced, how to connect with the audience on a human level. Those things, those are your craft as an artist. You learn playing any audience you can get. So, yeah, it's called paying your dues. But if you really want to actually get a record deal where it's actually you own yourself, you're doing actual business. I always tell young artists, it's called the record business. And the word business is twice as long as the word record. So you really got to approach it from a business point of view. And that business point of view, and Michael at Galaxy Class Entertainment, like I said, I've had a few artists call him recently. And he will sit and take the time to educate you. And as he works with you, educate you in each step you're taking. So you're actually learning the business from an end that you'd never have an opportunity to learn. Because like I said, we've learned an educated artist is the easiest to work with. Yeah.
I mean, some of these, I know a young lady, not personally, but she right next state to us from Missouri, Cassie Joy. She went out to Hollywood where they do the voice at, and she was on there, and she come back. She didn't win, but she come back and she started doing what you said, going around to these until the virus come around. But her and her husband was going around to these vineyards and stuff, and she was getting paid, from what I seen, good money to do it.
Yeah. You got to learn the business. Like Michael just placed a song on an artist for Ellen's show. Good recording. They used the song. He didn't lose the song. He didn't lose his publishing. He didn't have to give it away. You know what the artist cut was on just having them use the song? $10,000.
Dang.
For just using one of your songs. So song placement is a great way to make money.
Yeah.
Now 8 out of 10 recordings do not make enough money to pay back the cost of the production. So if you want to be in that 2 out of 10, you better approach it with very savvy, honest business people, or you got an 80% chance of crashing and burning on that thing.
It was one. Leanne Ryan, all of them. She started out.
Big shout out to Malia, and big shout out to Kate and Paul Martin. Hi, Paul. Glad you're listening. Go ahead.
What I was fixing to say, Leanne Ryan, I used to follow her when she was real little, and then here come this little old blonde, like you were saying, Taylor Swift.
Right.
And I figured she'd be just like Leanne. She'd be on TV for a while singing, then all of a sudden you wouldn't see her no more.
Right.
But Taylor Swift, she took it as she grew up, as you say, learned the business.
Right.
And now you look at her today, I mean, the young lady's worth some money.
Hey, you want to know a secret about Leanne Rhymes, where her first song was a hit and why? A little trick we used in production.
Okay.
the vocal came in on the first beat. No intro where you lose the audience before you get to the voice.
Okay.
Because they're just waiting for the voice to kick in.
Right.
Forget your intro. If you're trying to get a hit single, especially on your first outing, get that vocal to come in on the first note. You grab them right like that. As long as you grab them and keep their attention. One of the tricks we use for attention is, the common listener has the attention span of a gnat. So you got to keep them invested in what you're singing. So aside from great lyrics and a clean production, all that, about every couple measures, I'll put in a sound like a car beeping or a telephone ringing. Buried in the sound, you don't really hear it, but it makes your ears tweak up and follow the next line. I know I'm giving away a lot of industry secrets in production, but you know what? It's about serving others. So if I can help artists and producers out there say, wow, man, I learned more in this interview from this guy I never heard of.
Well, yeah.
It makes a difference for the people, and it makes a difference for my fellow artists that they have a better chance of success from the get-go just by understanding these things.
Yeah. I mean, come to think of it, listen to some of the music. You can hear something in the background that you wouldn't normally hear in somebody else doing it, and you wonder where'd that come from?
Exactly. A dog barking. I've used that before.
Yeah.
Just little things, man. Just little things here and there that just keep the listener invested in the sound and in what they're listening to.
Right.
That gives because a listener has to hear a song 3 times before they decide whether they like it or not.
True.
So they got to listen to it. You got to get them through that 3-minute, 3.5 minute song 3 times consistently before they'll say, man, I like that song. I might see if that's an iTunes. I might check out that artist. And that's how you start building your following. Like I said, all the recording is a 3.5 minute commercial for them to come see you perform.
True. I mean, they don't even, sometimes you got a 30-second commercial on an artist or on anything really. And as they play, and you like you're saying, that noise or whatever that catches your attention to listening to that song, hey, I want to go see that person, or I want to listen to them,
Yeah, start writing things that actually appeal to every human being, not the old demographic, 18 to 23, 25 to 32, after
Right.
50 you're dead, who cares? Really appeal on the human level when you're writing. Right from the heart, real experience, and real. That's the word, authentic. Be authentic. Don't try to be like some person you idolize, because there's already one of those. If you sounded exactly like Elvis, which so many guys do that, but you sounded exactly like this artist or that you idolize, all you could ever be in the world is second best.
Right.
But you are the best you that's around. So learn to find out your authentic voice. Your voice, not like, oh, I sound like Trace Atkins, or I sound like, no, we don't care. Can't use it later. But when we hear a voice that's purely that person's voice, it's appealing, it's workable. And it's not about it's not like this American Idol, how many notes can I hit in 3 minutes? That's not what's appealing. It's a human being. You're hearing the human aspect in that vocalist that you can relate to. The phrasing is like, Sinatra taught me this when I met him as a kid in New York. He said, read the songbook, read a story. When you're reading your lyrics, say them like you'd say in a conversation, not metered, not to the music, not to the beat. Phrase them just the way you'd say in a conversation. That's what gets the song across. It's the phrasing, and it's being honest with your tone, not trying to sound like someone, sound like yourself. These are all things that took me years to learn. I was really lucky to have the people that came into my life that taught me when I was young. But now it's time, when you get to our age, it's time to pass it on.
Right.
Pass the baton. And I saw, on just your station alone on your website, so many talented people.
It's some talented people.
Many. It's just mind-blowing. It's no wonder the industry is oversaturated with artists. I once said 10 years ago, there's so many people being artists, where'd the audience go?
I mean,
remember when we were young, it was You didn't even think about being an artist. You were just there to listen. Now you got bands that go to listen, and of course, they sit in the back, and what do they say? Well, I could do better than that.
Yeah, some of them do. You know,
Yeah.
It's like when I started years ago, when I was 20 years old, I used to go to this nightclub, and this first where I started was out in the country, and then I started dating this girl, and she took me out to this nightclub. She knew the DJ, and I always wanted to, I don't know, be a DJ, and he started teaching me the ropes and stuff of how, the DJ and stuff. And one night, the DJ that had out there part time, he worked at the radio station, so he'd be playing a song, and halfway through the song, he'd just cut it out and play something else. So
Wow.
I asked the owner to give me a chance. I said, the crowd don't like him. Let me play. So
Right.
one night, me and my buddy, he was out there, the one that taught me to DJ and stuff, and he said, go do it. So I was up there, and I don't know if you remember Wolfman Jack on the radio.
Oh, yeah. He came to my show in Los Angeles at Troubadour in '79.
So I tried there for, a couple, say 30 minutes, tried to go and act like the Wolfman Jack,
Right.
And my buddy Michael Boone come up to me and said, hey, so just be yourself.
Right.
Don't act like nobody else. Be yourself. Well, I done that, and then the owner let me. When Mike he took a week off. The owner said, "Hey, you want to DJ this week?" I said, "Yeah." Well, I drew a good crowd. I mean, we had fun. Played the right music, mixed it up and stuff. And ever since then. And then I got a chance to do this again, so I decided to be myself.
Awesome. That's the only thing that works, man. And who taught me that? I think it was my dad.
Yeah.
He was talking about, because I did some recordings early on, and he was listening to him. He says, well, you kind of sound like. I said, yeah. He says, look. He said, even if you sound exactly like them, there's already one of those. So the best you're ever going to be is second best. But if you be yourself, you'll be the first best there is.
Well, that's like doing these interviews and stuff. I don't sit down and jot notes down and stuff, what to ask the artist. I just sit out here and sit back and be myself and feel like, that you're right in front of me and we're just having a conversation about something. And, if I hear little things about you, I'll bring them up, but then 9 times out of 10, I ask you questions, how you got started and stuff like that. And it's more interesting to hear stuff like that because you'd be surprised where the songs come from, like you said, from the heart.
Right. Michael Zindana was just texting me. He said, Goodwin, you're the best talker I know. I certainly don't, as you can tell, I don't come from any script, man. I've never done a radio interview, but anything, just be real and talk.
Well, that's
whatever
it.
You have to say, Doc.
That's the way to do it. Well, I'll tell you what, it's been enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, after 10 years, we finally got to do this.
Yeah, we're going to have to do this again. I know you've got some things going on right now, but if you ever get a chance and, say a week from now, a month from now, 2 days from now, whenever, just hit me up and we'll sit down and do this again. Maybe we can do a live photo shot, picture. I've had your picture up here in the right corner of my screen so people know what you look like playing the guitar.
Which one is that, the cover of the Ken Morris thing?
Well, this one was with you playing a guitar and a black shirt. It looked like
black sweater, yeah.
Yeah.
That was when I went down and recorded that "The Love You Give Makes You What You Are" and did that video and album.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty recent.
So, well, next time we do this, we can do it live. They could see you, and I could see you and talk to you, and I enjoyed the day, and I appreciate you being patient with me and coming on. And we got to do this again, Ken.
Absolutely, man. I had a blast. And that album that you heard last has some good country. It has a nice mix on it, actually. It was the Ken Morris, Heavenly Bound and No Earthly Good.
Right.
I checked out. They still have copies at Amazon. The CD baby sold out. And I haven't had a chance to do a second run on it, but it's kind of old anyway, but I might do a second run at some point. But I know there's stores in Great Britain and Germany and a lot of other places. Apple Records has it, and iTunes has it. So it's Ken Morris, Heavenly Bound and No Earthly Good. And we made 3 of those songs. Do you remember the Atlantic Satellite Charts, the International Airplay Charts?
Briefly remember.
I think they went to funk like 2008.
Right.
But they were where you had all the artists out of 83,000 possible stations and charting. If you made it the top 2,500, you had a hit.
There you go.
3 of the songs in that album hit the top 2,500.
Dang.
Yeah, Oh Rosita,
Okay.
I'll Never Give You Away, and the only cover I've ever done, I did a version of out of an Elvis Presley movie because I like the lyrics. It was called "Clean Up Your Own Backyard."
Okay.
In fact, when you sample it at Apple Tunes, that's the song you hear. But I did it with bluegrass players, playing like blues on bluegrass, real swampy sounding violin,
Dang.
real funky, and man, it came across so Americana and rich. And this guy from Atlantic Records called me in my office in Orlando and said, "Man, I like that cut." I said, "Yeah, man," he says, "You beat Presley's by a country mile," was exactly what he said. And I says, "After 40 years, I had better." I had better. And of course, it didn't sound anything like Elvis singing. It was just me.
Yeah. Well,
But,
I tell you what, it is again, it's been good talking to you, and
yeah, let's do it again soon. I got some stuff to go through here. I'm trying to go through this, getting out of this unhappy marital situation, but it will happen.
I hate that.
Done and behind me, so I can go forward. That's a lot of the reasons we had never got together on so many things. I was helping out a lot. She didn't want me going on tour because I might beat someone or she'd lose me. I'm done with that, man.
Well,
I'm done with that kind of nonsense.
Gotta live your life.
They got to realize what my career is, and I don't do that. I've never treated a woman like a dog. I grew up with sisters and a mom, a single mom, and I see them as fellow human beings, man. Until any chemistry happens and goes beyond that, that's what it is.
Right. Well, you take care.
You too, brother.
God bless you. Be safe, and I might just call you up one day and talk to you without doing a interview, but
anytime you want, brother. We're brothers, man, and
okay.
We communicate all the time.
I appreciate it, my friend. You take care. God bless you, and be good. Okay.
Okay. God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, that was Ken Morris on Nightwave Radio. Thanks for y'all joining in. Come back and hang out with us a little more time. God bless everybody coming on. We'll be coming up with some more shows soon. I got some scheduled coming out, so I'll let you know. You'll see me posted on all my stuff. God bless you. Take care.